What is up? Welcome to the Smalley Talk podcast. This is your host, Josh Shrinko, with the episode number 3, Smalley Talk Great Lakes. And as always, got my good friend Destin Demarion. What's up, Destin?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm excited. This one's been a little bit in the making, it seems, since we were at the Columbus show. We've been waiting to have Nick on here, so I'm excited.
Yeah, man. I feel like this has been a long time coming for me, period. I'm so lazy at getting guests. This is a good for me to inject some fresh blood into Smalley Talk because Destin's been on it with getting the guests. But yeah, man. Had had it. We were just talking about before we started here about the warm weather we got. I don't know how hot it was. Like in the 70s today. What was it? Where you're at?
Yeah, it was hit the 70s. We went down to the beach at the end of my road when my daughter got home from school, and she was like in a short sleeve shirt, and
Yeah,
there's a girl in a bikini there. I mean, like just
yeah,
sunbathing. Like that's how warm it was, which is insane for here. And I'm sure
yeah.
it was even warmer where you're at.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like we always get like one or two of these days in March. Like it's like a false spring. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, this is those we had some trees budding because we got a
Yeah,
ton
we
of
do too.
rain. Yeah, we got a ton of rain. Then we got that sun. Yard's starting to get green. And then it's like I know we have at least another like few spells of cold weather, which
Yeah,
is
there's one coming at the end of the week here, is what it looks like.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
probably
got to
some
enjoy
snow.
this while we can.
Yeah, my wife has like an infamous video of our crabapple tree in the side yard. It like blooms, like pink flowers and stuff. And there was like we got like 3 inches of snow, so there's like snow falling, with this by this flowered tree. It's Indiana for you, man. It's just like
Yeah, that
back and
tree
forth,
didn't know what
back
was
and
going
forth.
on, man.
I know, man. Yeah, we finally got some rain. We got like a couple inches of rain over the last 3 or 4 days, so we needed that from a just a replenishment standpoint. Kind of got it didn't fix the drought. We got a major drought going on, kind of in the central Midwest. But it helps, and then I think we got some more rain coming. So I'm just looking forward to that, like full river fishing, or just got like water all, up the banks. It's not
Hmm.
super muddy. You can actually like run the boat. It's not, dodging rocks every time you go around the corner. So, yeah, and I caught a 22 on Thursday. So,
Yeah, I saw that. That was
yeah.
a hammer, man.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I haven't even caught anything yet, other than
it was the
fishing the
worst
hog
22
trough.
I've ever caught, if it makes you feel better. So,
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't want to rub it in or anything, but yeah, I did see
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, me and, Jeff Daly, and we got a mutual friend, Jeff. He's, came into town, for, like, an Achigan thing, and, yeah, I caught 2 fish that day. We blanked at one river, went to a different one, and then I caught a 19.5 and a 22 in, like, 10 minutes, so can't complain.
Worth
Yeah.
it. I mean, totally worth it.
Yeah, it's a good day, so, but, yeah, man, well, let's bring on our guest here and kind of get started. Just let him introduce himself to a certain extent. But for those who don't know, we got Nick Cousvis on here. What's up, Nick?
Not much, boys. How's it going?
Uh,
Good, man.
good. Is
Awesome.
that how you
Awesome.
pronounce your last name, by the way?
Cousvis.
That's right. Cousvis.
All right,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a very unique name. You're the only one I know.
Yeah. It's Greek. So is is generally Greek. And it's fairly simple in Greek too. It's just pronounced Cousvis instead of
Okay.
Cousvis. So yeah.
That's what I thought that it might be pronounced, but I'm too redneck to be saying it like that. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm glad. I'm glad you asked that question because before I'm like, is this how I say it? Like, I wanted to make sure that I was saying it right
I
and
just
not
went for it,
butcher it.
dude. People butcher my last name every
Me
time the
too. I
first
mean,
time, so it's like, yeah, whatever. Well, Nick, I think I met you for the first time at the Classic in Knoxville, which ironically we're going to see each other again there here in a few
All right.
days.
Yeah.
Um, but for those who don't know who you are, go ahead and just give us like a little introduction and your background, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So my name's Nick Cousvis. I live in Canada, just east of Toronto. Been here my whole life. Started fishing when I was 13. I mean, just nobody in my family fished. So it was a best friend's grandfather took us out one day, and I guess cliche, but I was hooked. So we started with basically like zero knowledge. Funny story. I remember the first time I ever went fishing. We had no idea. We went and bought rods and reels from a local tackle shop or whatever, and we got MEP spinners and put them under a bobber and just threw them out there and just drifted.
Probably caught fish though.
No, we didn't catch anything.
Dang.
So I went home that day, and it must have been like a couple days later. Whenever I had a chance, my mom took me to a store or whatever, and I grabbed an In Fisherman magazine just to kind of read up on it and find out what was going on. And I remember calling my buddy. I said, "Dude, we're doing it all wrong. And that's why we didn't catch any fish." I said, "You got to cast those things and retrieve them back. They're not just supposed to be floating under a bobber." So, we, from there it was history. So I've been fishing since I was 13. Started tournaments when I was as young as I can get into it. I think it was 18 years old. And, I was working in the F&B business, restaurants, catering, stuff like that. And fishing on the side, trying to win a tournament or two, with the idea that I was going to be a tournament guy. But, it's expensive to do it. And, I realized that with the money I had and the time I had, which wasn't a lot, that just wasn't going to be in the cards for me. So it was only about 5 years ago that I decided to really kind of change my focus and spend more time looking for big fish. I broke my arm that year in the summertime. First time I ever broke a bone in my body. And I had some time, so I went out to a local lake here, inland lake called Lake Simcoe. I'm sure a lot of the Americans have heard of that lake. It's was a very great lake for big smallmouth, and caught a bunch that year over 7. And, that's where I've kind of put my focus on, spent some time fishing some other lakes and trying to learn them as well and figure out where all these big fish are going. And, so, I do guide. I do some springtime stuff here. And then again, in the fall, generally focused on trophy stuff. And, I've caught now 4 over 8, 36 over 7. I had one that might have been 9, but I didn't have a scale that day, so I couldn't weigh it, but I measured it. It was 23 inches long and looked like it was going to easily be over 9, but I can't say that. So it was an 8. But yeah,
good for you. Yes, being honest.
yeah. Listen, I joke with customers all the time. I can't tell you how many fish I've caught between, say, 685 and 698, and I tell them, I'm like, it's a big fish, but it's not a 7.
Not a 7,
you can't mark it as a 7. It's just a high 6, right? So, and I've also caught 2 715s. So they weren't 8s, but 715s. Weighed them both 2-3 times, never hit 8. So it's a 715. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's frustrating, man. I feel you. I've not caught an 8 yet. I've caught quite a few 7s, over the years, but I've not caught an 8.
Yeah,
and you fish Ontario some too, correct?
I do a lot of Ontario, St. Lawrence. In around there. There is a lot of big fish out there.
Have you caught 8s there?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So is that where most of your big ones have come?
Yeah, correct. It's been a split between there and Lake Simcoe, kind of half and half. Lake Simcoe's kind of fallen off. It's still good, but something's going on there. I don't know. Even the tournaments in the fall have not yielded anywhere near the weights. Used to take 30 pounds to win that fall tournament. Now it's, 26, 27.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Do you fish that? That's a Barry Bassmaster one, correct? Like that open tournament?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we were talking to Joey T and Joey D a little bit ago, and Joey T fishes there a lot. Those guys,
they spend a lot of time
as well.
There.
They talked a little bit about, we talked about like it's been tougher, those fall tournaments. Like you said, it used to be a lot of 30-pound bags coming in, and
absolutely,
it's just upper 26, 27, ish.
I don't even remember the last 7 I caught out of there. It had to be 3 years ago anyways. but most of my early sevens came from there. But
Yeah.
I figured Lake Ontario was going to be the deal. So I started putting more time there, spending more time as much as I could, you know, at least try to get 8 to 10 days in the fall out there to try and learn some stuff. And, you know, I figured some stuff out. You know, last year I got 1 over 7 in the fall. I had one real big one. It was big. I don't know how big it was. Was it a 7? Was it an 8? I know it was over 7. I lost it at the net, but there's a lot of big fish out there. So,
oh, for sure. Yeah, I've fished that some. So, are you primarily fishing like around Kingston area, or are you fishing like down west of there?
I'm anywhere from Brockville, so say Morristown on the U.S. side.
Oh, on the river. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, in the river, and then all the way down out into the, you know, American Island, Stony Galoo. I spent a lot of time. Kingston's okay, but I think some things have changed there. I think pressure's had something to do with it. There still is some big fish that are in that area, but I don't know, they're not where they have been in the past. So
gotcha.
It's constantly changing, you know, where whatever you think you've learned or whether you think you've figured out, you realize the next time around, you know, maybe I didn't figure out what I thought I did. And then you're constantly scrapping everything and starting from scratch.
Hey, but that's what keeps us coming back, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
The smallmouth keep us on our toes, and we got to constantly be adjusting. And a lot of it's the fishing pressure, like you've alluded to, and that place gets hammered like no other.
Yeah. Like honestly, there was a tournament there on the U.S. side. I believe it was out of Clayton. It might have been like in early October or late September. It's about early October, maybe. Water was still pretty warm, and there was 10 7-pounders weighed in that tournament. Ridiculous.
Yeah, wait, was this year you're talking about?
That was this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I fished that tournament.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We had a 731, I think, in that tournament.
Yeah.
So it was the docks, the rumble on the river.
Okay, right.
I assume that's the one you're talking about. Yeah, there
that's
was
the
an
one I'm talking
absurd amount of 7-pounders weighted.
Yeah, insane. I think that was just more of a, you know, everything was right. The moon phase was right.
Yeah.
Something was going on because I was there 2 weeks after that, really, when it was setting up well. But the fall was a weird year. It got cold real fast. It stayed warm real fast for a long time, and then it shot cold. And I think those fish just like disappeared. You know, I could see them, but they just would not bite anymore. And that water temp was still right. But I just think everything happened so fast, and they were done. The big fish were basically dormant, and they weren't looking to eat. You can catch a ton of small ones, but you couldn't get a big one to bite. The window was so tiny in that late fall. I had like a 1.5 week span in November where it was really good, and it looked like it was fixing to get hot, and then it went. You know, it spiked and then just dropped. Like it was done.
Yep. I mean, I've seen that too at Erie too. We have those windows in the fall, and you know, if you miss it by a week, I mean, it's just like the same exact situation you're talking about.
Yeah. I've never seen it in the falls before. It'll run its course. Yes, it can get cold late, but at least you got like about a month window. This was literally 10 days. That's all we had. And I squeezed everybody in that slot, and that was it. We got some big fish where our weights were all pretty much over 30 pounds, but it was hard to get a real big one. Yeah, I think it was just starting to set up, and then before you knew it, it tanked.
Yeah, 30 pounds. It's so tough. That's so rough.
About that.
I know.
No, I understand, because you're going. You just want to catch the giant ones. With some clients, that's just what they want. They just want the trophy fish, which a 6-pounder to most people is amazing.
Yeah, no one complains with a 30-pound bag for sure, but I always tell them, man, it was a good day. That's all.
Yeah, right. You're like, that was okay. And they're like, what?
Yeah. You know what? I had a customer that I think lost the biggest fish of the year. It might have been over 8. I mean, it was an absolute giant. But I was scoping it with him. So I said, okay, cast whatever. I said, cast 50 feet. So he cast out. He missed it by a bit, but I said, okay, just let the bait sink. And I saw the fish swimming off screen. So I'm like, okay, he's going for it. And once I caught back up to him, I said, okay, now just start swimming that bait. Swim it slow. Kill it. Stop it. Okay, now start it again. No, stop it. And then I said, start it. And as soon as he went to start it again, the fish ate it. But,
nice.
He set the hook. He kind of missed it a bit. And then that fish came out of the water, man. And it was big.
Yeah, all bets are off when they come up and just jump like that.
If you don't get that initial hook into him, like that hook, doesn't matter what you do after that, you're done. Yeah.
That's a fact for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, seeing an 8-pounder jump off my line, I might just jump and drown myself. Like that.
Oh gosh,
That'd
that's
be
harsh.
heartbreaking.
I know, man. I've seen a few. I can't tell you. There was a video that I shot. I was out by myself. It's pretty funny. There was a lot of expletives going on that video. So I caught at that time, my biggest fish that day was an 837. This was in November. Water temp was about 42 degrees. And as soon as I pulled up to the spot, there was a bunch of them swimming around. So I made a cast, got one to bite. It was an 837. First 15 minutes out, as soon as I drove out to the spot, put it down, I don't think I made 5 casts and I caught that fish. And then might have been like half an hour later, I was working another one and hooked it, and it was a giant. It was really big. Had it on for like maybe 5-6 seconds, and it broke me off. And I was testing this other line. I won't say what it was. Probably not a good idea that day to test stuff, but it broke. I broke off 2 fish that day and never used that line again. Like never. I'm like, I get when it could have just been a bad spool, but I'm not testing it anymore. I'm like, nope, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If you get snake bit on a big fish or in a tournament, you're like, I'm never using this again. I understand that situation. So, Nick, so you're with Megabass. Are you involved with product development or any of that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah. Okay. So I've been with Megabass. This is 12 years now, and I started with them as a pro staff. Doing some simple development stuff. They'd send me then again and now and again. And when I kind of went into it full time, maybe a little bit before, I'd say for the last 6-7 years, I've always been doing development, just not heavily involved, but definitely more involved now in the last 5-6 years. So anytime we have prototypes, they send me stuff, and we're very particular about the notes and how we do it. Megabass is really specific with their stuff.
Well, so that's why they're high quality.
Which is why I love them, right? So they'll sit on something. I mean, and I think you guys have seen it in soccer or whatever. They'll post something. Hey, these are like concept baits. Some of them never come to fruition. Some of them might show up like 5 years after. They like the concept, they like the idea, but it's not running right, or something is just not right about it. So then we go back to the drawing board and figure out, is it internal? Is it external? Things like that. So it's been, yes, I do a lot of that stuff. It's really the best part of my job. The sales part is a lot of fun. I enjoy being around people. I enjoy visiting shops. You meet a lot of interesting people. You meet a lot of interesting people that used to be big time into fishing. They might have been tournament guys. They might have been on a tour somewhere.
For sure.
And then, whatever it's a family thing. They're making money. So then they just settle down and work the shop, but they always there's always secrets in the area that they know about. And, we share secrets. We, talk fishing. I mean, imagine, I thought to myself, man, if I could get paid just talking fishing, like, you're living life right. And so everything, like COVID kind of it was so weird. And it's probably happened to a lot of people in different industries where COVID sort of switched things for you. And at the time you're thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, how am I going to make money? And then I just dove into it full time and took a shot at it, and it just paid off,
It's awesome. So
working full time for them now, selling, we got a bunch of stores in the US, like close to 300 now between US and a small snippet here in Canada, and travel around a lot, meet a lot of great people, and, work shows, talk to, locals at shows and in-store sales. And it's. So the dev thing, all the development, it's like the bonus of it. Like it's,
for sure.
To go out on the water, I need you to test the bait. Okay, great. That's not going to
twist your arm.
So I got to ask, is there something cool coming out of the Classic? Is there anything new coming out?
Yeah. So the Classic, we have what we generally do, which we call our Classic colors.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it is. All I can tell you
is
that
that's fine.
It's really cool. It's a really cool color. Guys are going to scoop that up real quick. So they'll be at the 2 dealers that we're running in.
Ooh,
that's a 2023 Classic color.
That's right.
Nice.
We have 5 colors that year. That was the fine art, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I that was the only 110 I got. I got a mag draft in like a classic color too. It's still in the package.
Oh, that's
but
right. Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
I think we might have had a couple of the classic colors in mag draft as well, like
Yeah.
3 to 5 colors or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
that,
not a big like collector guy, but they knew I was going. They're like, dude, could you pick me up one of these? And I was like, well, I guess I should buy this. So
yeah,
I bought it.
probably
So,
be a good idea.
The
yeah.
collector market's insane when you
It-
guys do those drops and stuff, like those
It
special
is, man.
runs.
It does.
People love it.
It does drive sales, no question. I mean, I'm not a collector either. If I like a color, I'm
not.
getting it and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
fishing it.
same.
Like I don't care.
Same.
You can make
Yeah.
$200 on that bait. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's catching fish.
Right. They're not seeing it because everyone's keeping them and not fishing them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So yeah, we got that coming out. There's a lot of cool stuff. I'm just trying to figure out what I could tell you guys about. So
yeah.
I mean, some of the
don't
things
get in
that
trouble by
no,
anything.
yeah, no, I won't,
Yes,
trust
get in
me, yeah.
trouble, Nick.
Yeah. Josh is like the little devil on his shoulder.
Give us
I'm
the
like, no,
juice
it's all
here,
right.
dude.
Don't do it.
Well, some of the stuff they already released in Osaka. So we have a junior +2 coming out. That'll be coming
awesome.
out very soon, and
Sweet.
we're pretty pumped about that bait. So it'll dive at the end of the day. It'll dive pretty much as deep as a regular +1 in that 7-8 foot range.
Okay.
So that's coming out. We have a jig head for the 5 and 6 inch mag draft. I don't know if you guys saw that in Osaka. So it basically almost like a throat style weight that kind of goes from the hook and it goes down below. So when you rig the mag draft, it's just sitting right on top of it. Very similar to our body balance.
Yeah. Okay.
But doesn't have as much weight up at the top. So it's more underneath in the throat. So then the profile up top is exactly a mag draft. There's
Right.
no,
So is it for the freestyle then? Is that?
Yeah, for the freestyle. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 In the 5 and 6 inch. So we got to play around with those in Gunnersville last fall when we did our team trip. So that's a lot of fun. I think they're going to be great. And they come in a bunch of different sizes and different hook sizes to match both the 5 and the 6.
Yeah, those will be hot, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what else do we have coming out? Oh, yeah. So the Levante rods, we have a brand new lineup. So we'd usually do a refresh every 5 years in our lineup. So Levantes need a refresh. So we have every model that we make now is coming out. And then we added 7 new models as well to the lineup. So pretty full lineup. I can't remember exactly how many rods it is. Is it like 15 or 16, something like that? So we added some finesse stuff. We added some longer rods that we didn't have in the original series. All cork, brand new blank though. They are very different because, the blank is very different. Blank material, Ito is always looking for new innovations and new ways to build rods. So the Levantes, the new ones are going to be much different, even though some of them will carry the same name as the originals. The blank reacts it's just a lot different than the old ones. So for anybody that's looking for the old ones, we're still going to have them out there. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to be on sale or anything. They're still going to be there. And then I don't know when we're launching this lineup. I would say sometime late 2026. I don't know if it's late summer, early fall, somewhere around that.
Well, you can build the hype now. Yeah, everyone will.
Yes.
All the Levante guys will be waiting.
Yeah, they're real sweet. We brought back the Ronin, which we had in a XX. A lot of northern guys really like that rod for jerk baits. We don't really have like a spinning rod that was specifically designed. I would say the Windbuster and the P5 would be the closest thing, but the Windbuster is another rod that does a lot of different things. The blank on the P5s are very different than anything that we have, anything that's out there. So, they're built like a jigsaw puzzle, basically. And the reason why we did that, we call it adaptive taper. And what adaptive taper means is that no matter what you're doing as an angler, all the movements that you need that rod to do, it does it at the very best, from the cast to the retrieve to the hook set to fighting the fish. That rod just bends in every way perfectly to give the connection between the bait and the angler 100%. So they truly are a very unique rod. They're not just a straight blank that gets rolled, and everything is done from the ground up. Every rod was built, every handle is built for that specific model. So I think from there, the Levante is obviously going to be a completely different blank, but again, everything's built like that at Megabass. We think of everything. Ito, I kind of call him the mad scientist. He's always, which is the name Destroyer was really made. It was supposed to be like the destruction of the concept of building a rod. So every time we come up with a new, a new phase of destroyers, it's like all new technology, new thought process, built from the ground up. So this is the one thing I learned at Megabass, and it really has made me a better angler, is the finer details that a lot of anglers don't spend a lot of time on. We spend a lot of time on what we're going to use, where we're going to fish, right? What are the fish doing? Where are they? All that stuff. But the equipment is so important. A great angler, you can give him a pool cue and he's probably going to be able to catch a fish with it somewhere, right? But all these things, having all these things right, your setup, the line, the reel, the rod, all that stuff put together, the bait, the weight of it. I'll never forget, I was at a classic years ago when the late, great Aaron Martins was there. And I was listening to a conversation of him talking with a bunch of guys just before the tournament. And he's like, oh man, I got all this stuff to do. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, just, go and whatever. I wasn't happy with the line on these 5 rods, the way. So he goes, I have to go rip that line up and I have to change the line, the weight of the line, the diameter of the line. It's just not right for what I'm doing, So he was constantly thinking of all these little things. And again, because if you have everything right, your feel is going to be so much better, right? Mm-hmm. Always. So that performance of that bait, if that rod's too stiff, then the bait, that fights against the movement of the bait. So the bait doesn't run as it should. If that tip doesn't wobble and doesn't allow for that bait to do what it's got to do, there's resistance there. So it doesn't work the same. So I've spent way more time in the last 7 years, particularly spending time on my setup, making sure that once I understand what I'm doing, then it's about what rod, what line, what reel is going to give me the best opportunity to present that bait the best way I possibly can. And it is definitely shown in results.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good segue, because the next question I was going to ask is, like, you want to target trophy smallmouth, whether you're on Simcoe or Ontario. So you're talking about your setups and everything tying together. So can you kind of walk through like your thought process when you're, specifically targeting these 7-8 pound fish, from your rod, your line, all the things that come into play when you're trying to put this whole system together that's going to be able to put those, 8 pounders in the boat for you and your clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, generally up north, really, we're fishing ultra clear water. So light line is the first thing that's imperative, but, too light can be detrimental to what you're doing, with all our, ledges and rocks and, zebra mussels that are going on down there. So in a perfect world, you want to try and throw 4 and 6 pound tests all the time to trick these things, but you can't. So, in situations, I played around, I dabbled with 4 pound test. I'm not comfortable with it. To me, it just feels,
I'm not either,
just too light, it just puts too much stress on me. So, but I do have some setups where 6 pound test plays a role, 7 pound test plays a role. 7 pound test is just kind of in a lot of cases can be that in between thing where you want the performance of 6. It's close enough, but it gives you that extra rigidity and strength when you're around zebra mussels and rocks, so you don't break off. Right.
For sure.
So, and then like for me, like when you see guys, like you see certain guys, they're running all over the boat, chasing fish. The way I always look at it is if you have the right setup, you don't need to do that. Guys are pulling line out with their drag. If you have the right reel and the right drag system, it is always going to, let the equipment do the work for you. right?
I totally agree. Yeah.
You know, so if you feel like your drag's a little bit too tight, you loosen it off a bit, and then let the drag do the work. Let the bend of the rod do the work and wear that fish down for you, rather than you running around chasing it all over the place. It's just, again, everybody's got a different style. It's not necessarily wrong, but I've always spent time trying to put the best equipment, you know, and I don't mean you don't have to break the bank. Like I have some exists, you know, they're whatever, $700-800 US rods. Do you need that? No, absolutely not. But in some cases, they just balance out my rod. And again, balance is the next thing I look at when whatever I'm throwing. The balance of that reel to the rod, to the line, to the lure is so important. If it's too heavy, you lose sensitivity. If it's too light for the rod, you lose sensitivity, you lose feel, you lose what's going on. So balancing it out. If I'm throwing like, you know, a jerk bait or a mid-size swim bait, which where I'm from, I don't use a lot of bait casters with mid-size swim baits. We go lighter line because with straight fluorocarbon, if you go into a bait caster, you say you want to throw 12 or 14 pound test and you make a long cast, that the weight or the density or the thickness of that line, the diameter of the line, it gives you a lot of resistance in the water. And what happens is when you make a cast, by the time your bait comes back down, especially in current, and it gets down to the bottom, you've already lost 20, 30 yards by the time it hits the bottom. So I find with spinning gear, I can make longer casts, go to lighter line, and get a heavier weight down. The problem is you're going to break off here and there. But that's the trade-off a little bit, because if you don't get the distance to get that bait away from the boat, and it's so crucial with those big fish. Yeah, I've caught some big fish just seeing them 20 feet from the boat and throwing at them and getting them to hit. But more times than not, they're very boat shy. They're very noise shy. So getting that bait further away when you have targets, being able to stay further away from those targets, make longer casts. With spinning rod, you'll get more of a direct drop than you will like a pendulum. So in that situation, that is always going to help you. But day in and day out, like in the fall time when I'm fishing deep, it's pretty much the same. I'm like 16-pound braid to like 10-pound fluorocarbon. There are times if I'm fishing like a sand flat, I'll go to 8. But if there's any kind of rocks or ridges, those sharp edges, 10-pound test. I've tried 12-pound. It doesn't work. The other problem with heavier,
you think it's killing the action of the bait? Because I think that's really what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Right. So one of my favorite baits that I use in the fall when I'm fishing deep, and I've tested a lot of different baits, that Megabass 4.2 Hasdong is about the best swim bait that there is out there on the market for clear water. There are other baits that are good in different situations, but day in and day out, and I've had lots of guests, oh, Nick, I want to throw, I'm not going to name any brands. I'm going to throw brand B. Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in it. Absolutely throw it. Oh, I'm going to throw, yeah, absolutely. I'll set it up for you. Throw it. Be my guest. Because here's the other thing real quick. I learned a long time ago that I can always learn something from somebody, no matter what their skill level is. You know what I mean? There is no ego here whatsoever. You know, if I have a guy starting to tell me, hey, maybe we should go over there, then I'm like, you paid the guy to let me take care of things, right? But when it comes to like presentation and all that, I'm, oh, hey, this really works for him. Okay, let's try it. But day in and day out, I can tell you 85% of the time, anybody that's throwing their own thing will come up to me at some point during the day, say, hey, Nick, can you put one of those Hasdongs on for me? It really doesn't matter. But I put a 4.2 and I have a custom head that I designed a few years ago. So I wanted a very narrow head. I mean, there are a couple out there, like Nishine's got that smelt head, very narrow.
Used that one.
Right. But I wanted one that would sink faster and then hold on the bottom better. So I designed one that's real sharp, almost like a bullet head. And I cut the Hasdong off just in the back of the eye, and I'll slide that right up. Here's the other thing. It's really hard to find, other than the Shine, it's hard to find a heavier head with a smaller hook. If you go into like half ounce, 5/8, 3/4, they all have like 4 and 5/0. That won't work with a Hasdong. A 4/0 is going to go back too far and it's going to kill the action. You need a 2 or 3/0.
So what do you think makes the Hasdong so good? Because I've talked to guys that swear by it.
Yeah.
And I have some. I haven't really used them Uh,
I
I
swear
don't do
by
the
it,
same
Josh,
type of
by the way.
fishing. Uh,
I swear by it, but Josh, by the way.
okay. Yeah. What is it like? Just the action of it, the
Yeah, the
softness.
action, it has such a subtle
It's tight.
head shake, just so tight. And really, the movement is all in the back of the tail. So it just looks so natural in the water. It's not doing this big, sloppy.
Mhm.
It's just real tight. Just looks like a little minnow kind of swimming along the bottom. That and the fact that the profile of it just looks like a mid-size perch smelt. Like I've seen them spit out smelt, and I put it up against my Hasdong, and I'm like, it looks exactly like that. 4 or 5 inch smelt, which they eat a lot down there,
Mhm.
smaller perch. It matches that profile, and with that action, it's ridiculous. I've watched them. I mean, I started doing this before live scope, but now that I have live scope, you can obviously watch these fish, how they react. A real big fish, I've seen them track a bait for 30 yards on the bottom, just swimming. And he'll come over and look at it, stop, you kill it, they'll look down and they won't touch it, and then you pick it up again, and then they start swimming at it again. And then right at the end, either when the bait starts to lift up or not, they attack it. So they're inspecting that bait. So I try to make it as seamless as possible. I don't want too much metal sticking out. I want it to be tied right down to the body, and I don't want it to be too thin. So I make sure that it looks as good as it does, making it straight. Here's the other thing about a heavier head when I'm fishing deeper water. Like with a swim bait, you have to rig it so straight. If you don't rig it straight, it's going to keel off to the left or off to the right. It's going to look a little bit unnatural.
Right.
But I do find that even if you mess up the Hasdong, because it is such a finesse swim bait with a heavy head, it'll still track very straight because it doesn't have the pulse or the vibration to make that bait actually kick off to the left or right. I mean, you have to mess it up big time. But if you're just off a little bit, it'll still track straight and they'll eat it.
So would you say that's your go-to then is the Hasdong, or what would be like your number one,
Yeah, I would say like number one would be the Hasdong, really, in any color that we make. It's awesome. And then I get into some blade baits. It's because they're all deep at that time. Like in Lake Ontario, really, I don't know exactly when they vacate because I don't live out there, but my guess would be somewhere once you get into the low 50s, pretty much that area that's around the lake, they're pretty much deep. You'll still find them shallow. When I mean shallow, like you still could find them in 15 feet. But if you went up in 5, it's ghost town,
Right.
Now, if you go downriver, is downriver away from the lake or is it upriver?
I always get it confused, honestly.
I do too, yeah.
I think it's upriver.
I think you're right. It's upriver.
Yes, it is.
It's upriver. Yeah, you're right. So upriver, they tend to stay shallow. I don't know why. So if I get in, especially if you go to the other side of the dam, like in that Cornwall area, and there's a bunch of Indian reserves on the American side, and
like up near Messina, and
all that stuff. Man, they'll stay shallow, like dirt shallow, till the bitter end. And I know some
there's a lot of current there. Like that's where it's very strong current, and it's probably forcing them to
come up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So and we have some inland lakes where they'll stay shallow right to the bitter end. I don't know why, but Lake Ontario is not like that. Lake Simcoe, they go deep as well.
Yeah.
So you're kind of, there's only so many baits that are going to work. Drop shot is okay, but man, we struggle catching fish on drop shot now in the summertime.
It's gotten harder.
It's gotten a lot harder. Yeah. It still works, and you'll still catch them, but the presentation has to be so right and so natural, or they don't bite it. And throwing at them is a waste of time because they'll just swim away. You almost got to throw past them and then let the bait come by them, and then once in a while you'll get one to bite.
Yeah, because I mean, you'll spook the fish now because they're so pressured. If it falls on their head, they're like, and they run away from it a lot of times.
Yes,
I mean, we see that here a lot at Erie too. So I mean, it's no different. These fish are definitely reacting to the forward facing and just more people being able to see them and throw at them.
That's right.
It's you got to get crafty, which I'm sure you've had to change up, like we were talking about. Like you just constantly got to be adjusting. Yeah,
the last 2 years I've seen such a big change in that river. I mean, I wish I had more time. My focus now is to move out there and just put more time on the water. I just haven't been able to. Like summertime, I'm lucky if I get 10, 12 days out there. It's not enough because those fish, like everything I ever had, it's all exposed now. Like, I could sit on a spot and watch a boat, where I can get a good, whatever, couple mile and I can see boats. I'll watch a boat literally hit everything I know from one side to the next. And you can almost call it. Okay, watch, that guy's going to stop. That guy's going to make a left and he's going to stop on a little high spot. Sure enough, right on the spot. You just know it. So
Nick, do you think that's like more of a social media sharing thing, or is that?
I think it's yeah. You know what it is? I'll tell you this. Yes, it is social media, but I think more so it's all these big tournaments that have been out there, because when there's a big tournament, everybody's following these guys, and when they're not following them, they're seeing it on TV.
Yeah. You're blowing up those spots forever.
Yeah, but we used to it's so funny because I've talked to a couple of the Canadian guys here that do the elites, and they're like, man, there's so many guys following us out there from Canada. They come over and follow us. So there's just no secret. See, these guys are so good at finding stuff. I remember the first time they announced that they were going to do something on the St. Lawrence. Everybody was all excited, and I was just like, that's going to be bad.
The kiss of death. Yes.
You just knew it. And the fishing was so good, and they completely destroyed it. Don't get me wrong.
It's not the same.
It's still really good, like it is. But, I get customers that want to come in the summertime, and I'm like, listen, I could take you out. I don't use live bait ever. It's always artificial. So you got to teach them. You have generally the skill level is not high. Every once in a while I get a guy that's good, but generally it's not high.
Right.
So I have to crash course test them real quick. And if they do anything wrong, they're just not going to catch anything. So I'm like,
I know how that works.
Yeah. You get it. So it's tough. It's not where I want to be. Now, if you go early summer, post spawn, you'll catch fish all over the place. They'll get up on those flats and they just want to eat. And, we've had amazing days, but once they start to split up, deep, suspended, deep structure, whatever it is, man, it is, you could put 4 days out there and have one really good one. You'll have one average one and two bad ones. Like generally, I remember Al Linder once, he said this thing about guiding, how he connected guiding to just life in general. And he took a 7-day, any 7-day window that he wanted. And he said, generally in a 7-day window, you'll have 2 good days, 2 bad days, and 3 average days as a guide. Like that's generally the way it works. And he always thought that life was very similar, right? If you just took a 7-day week, it would be 2 bad days, 2 good days, and just 3 average days, right? I work for Megabass, so it's more like 4 really good days, 2 average days, and 1 bad day. But I think in Lake Ontario, it's not like that. In the summertime, it's worse. Now, once that water temp gets cold, yes, the fish start to forget things, and because they got to get fat, they eat more. But man, in the summertime, it can be a grind at times. It really can. And everybody's seeing what the pros are doing, and they want to come in the summertime. And I'm like, listen, I know, sure, the guys are weighing 28, 29, 27, 30 pounds, but these are the best anglers in the world, and they're still only getting like 5 to 10 bites a day, like good bites.
Oh, yeah.
And these are the best. Now, how do you take a guy that's got very little experience, that isn't very good, that's trying to learn, and put them on fish? Like, I could go find 2-3 pounders, no problem, but they want to catch big fish. It's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, it is tough there in the summer to consistently catch big ones. The last tournament I fished there in August was a Toyota a couple years ago. And the first day, the fish were super tough to catch. I had to completely adjust. And the second day I went to the spot where I thought I was going to catch them, and I caught maybe 7 fish, but they're all hammers. But that's all I caught, all day,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I had a pre-fish day out before a tournament, and I had 28 pounds in the first hour and a half. And then I picked up my buddy. He had some trolling motor problems. I'm like, here, jump in my boat. I want to show you something. We were working on another bait, and I took him out, and everywhere we went, we just smoked them. Just throw the bait out there, and they eat it right away. And then I'm like, man, that was a good day. I wonder, is it the bait or was it the day? I tried throwing some other baits, and, they ate it once in a while, but they really wanted this bait. Yeah. And then I went out the next day, and I was like, come up, look at it, turn away, throw it out here. I'll come up, look at it, turn away. And it was like that.
Frustrating.
The last 2 pre-fish days, we did that late summer tournament, that CISA, and we only had, we had 19 and change the first day with 3 5-pounders. I had to go. I'll tell you a quick story. I was talking with Chris Johnson at the end of the day, and he said, fishing was so tough today. We had one big one, and then we struggled for like 4 hours, couldn't get anything. So he said, I had to go to a backup spot just to get a bunch of 4.5-pounders to feel good. And so we did that. And then we came somewhere else and then, plucked a couple big ones. I said, oh, yeah, that's like my day. I had 3 5-pounders and went as far as I could till I could not. I had to leave. And I said, dude, we got to go to a backup spot. I got a spot where there's like a couple of 3s. You're going to get some small fish, but we just got to come in with 5. And we caught 2 1.5-pounders just to come in with 19 and change. I said, yeah, I got a backup spot. It's got a bunch of 1.5-pounders.
Yeah, his like backup spots got 4.5s on it. Yeah.
So bad.
Trying to catch pound and a halfers just to fill a bag,
But it was rough all week, and one of the guys actually ended up flipping his boat. They almost died.
Wow.
Like flipped a big Ranger. And they're okay. Everything was good. But I just decided I'm going to just stick it in the river. I had enough stuff there, but they got real stingy, man. And even on the last day, the second day, we didn't make the cut. We missed the cut by a bit. That 19 pounds is never going to help you in September. We ended up weighing 24 pounds on day 2, which is still just okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got that weight like in the last hour. Like I thought, I cannot believe after that pre-fish, this is what we're going to do. And then we ended up weighing 24 and change. And it was like, too little, too late. But that lake will beat you up, man. It's part of the reason why it makes you want to go back and learn more. And, trophy fishing is a lot different than tournament fishing. And I'm starting to find with all the time I put in trophy fishing, I have to try and figure out new ways to process things when I'm tournament fishing compared to trophy fishing, because I get stuck in some areas that I know have real big fish, and then I waste too much time and they don't want to bite that day, and you can't figure it out. And I just sit on them way too long. And then by the time you realize it, you're like half the day's gone. You know what I mean? So
I do.
Man, that's Nick, the trophy versus tournament thing is, we've talked about that a lot on the podcast. Just it is such a different mentality when you're like I think from like technique wise, obviously there's a lot of things that play into, but just like the mentality and the pressure. Because when you're like, I got to get 5 good ones, that clock is ticking in your head where you're just like, it's like you look. I've never in my life. Nothing I've done in my life, time moves so much faster in a fishing tournament than any time ever else in my life. It's like 3 hours goes by and it's like 10 minutes. You're like, what? I just looked and it was new. And it's like, it's almost time for weigh-in. But talk a little bit about that, like trophy versus tournament, because I think it's just a cool, like, I mean, I saw, you on Instagram, just been following you for a while, and like it's what I don't know. I think it's a little cheesy, the guys that put up the like, oh, they're holding, the 5 fish or whatever. I like the one big one.
Yeah.
It's like,
for sure.
I'm catching an 8. There's not that many guys that go out there and catch those. You don't even see those in tournaments like hardly ever either.
No,
it's just a different. It's a different. So talk a little bit about that mentality.
Yeah. So, for guys that want to get into trophy fishing, I mean, and one thing I can tell you is that there are certain areas in the lake, although it might get pressure, there still are big fish there because they know exactly where to set up to get the food that they need to get and be out in safety. They're not going to put themselves in any danger. They've been around a long time. They've seen it all. So, they tend to kind of stay off the masses. They might not be far away from it, but anytime I'm getting a bunch of small ones, I'm out. They don't like sharing food source. They set up in a specific spot and they do it for short spurts. So when it comes to trophy fishing, like I won't sit on anything when I'm in tournaments unless I really feel good about what's going on there. But if I feel like the conditions are right for a specific spot, then I'll sit on it and go back and forth and try and break it down. Even with live scope, they can get very tricky and hide in small crevices, and you don't see them at first, but a certain angle, all of a sudden they pop up. So I fish much slower when I'm trophy hunting. Customers get it and they're good with it. Like I say, hey, listen, we might kill them today in numbers, but today might be one of those days where, we may have to slow down and kind of figure things out. Every day is a little bit different. You try and stay as dialed as possible, but a dialed thing it's funny when someone says dialed, because you're only dialed in that moment. As time goes on, whether it's an hour or a day or whatever it is, things are constantly changing. Conditions are changing. The bait fish are doing something different. Those big ones just know all the time where to be. So the thing about trophy fishing is I don't spend a lot of time fishing a big area. I'm fishing very specific spots in a very large area, but I'll sit on it for a long time, assuming that with the conditions, whether it's wind or cloud or whatever it is, angle of sun, that's going to bring a big one in. But what that does is, if that's your mentality in tournaments, that's a hard thing. Like, I don't like doing that. I rather just constantly move around, running guns. So, I'd say you got to be more deliberate, and don't get me wrong. Anybody can get lucky. It was funny. I talked to Kevin Van Dam's brother. They own DNR over there, and he caught that 9 and change on Erie long time ago. Mm-hmm. I went never met him before, just went and introduced myself because I was working at his store. And I said, oh, I remember when you caught that big fish. He had it on the wall. He said, Nick, you know what I tell everybody? It's better to be lucky than it is to be good. And he goes, and I was just lucky. So, it happens, but I try to take as much, there is always luck in the equation, but I try to take as much out of it and really put my time in to figure out, okay, I know this area should hold a big fish. Now it's just a matter of finding what spot in this area. And, it comes from a lot of side imaging, a lot of forward facing sonar. I mean, again, remember, I never had it. Like, growing up, we had a paper map, and, they weren't even very good. They were like a navigational chart. So it wasn't like, 1 foot increments. You never knew where all these points and humps were. We found them using 2D sonar. And then when side imaging came out, it was like, holy, this technology is unbelievable. I think what happens is, like, a lot of the younger guys, I know the real good guys, they know everything, but the younger guys almost skip that generation and they just use live scope. But side imaging plays a really big role in it, and really finding those little nooks. So I'll mark stuff that really looks right, and then I'll go back with it live scope and just sort of see how the bait fish are positioning, how the fish are positioning. Are there any fish? If I feel it's really good and there's nothing there, I'll leave, but I mark it and I come back. And, I'll change my icon colors from one color to the next. I know like yellow could mean this is a really good spot, but I didn't see anything. Everything looks right. The bottom, I drop my camera down. I see it's got all the bottom thing. Everything's good, but there's nothing here. I figure at some point they're going to show up. So,
yeah, that's place like Lake Ontario. If you can do that, dude, I'm jealous, because that's you just never know. Like, the next eat could be, a world record. I mean, you got to think, like, what's the world record smallmouth right now? It's
like 12 or something, like upper
11 something, 12.
Yeah, it was out of Dale Hollow still.
Yeah, Dale Hollow, right? Yeah.
I don't know how legit that actually is, but
it's been a long time period.
Yeah, it's so different.
Know how I trust it too.
Yeah, I would say between just like objectively or subjectively for me, like observing, I think I see a ton of big fish come out of Ontario. Dwarshak is another one where it's like there's just always huge smallmouth coming out of there. But I mean, as the technology gets better, you got to think that somebody's gonna stick one it's gonna at least rival that.
It's gonna happen.
It's coming
for sure.
Yeah.
Who was the elite guy that caught the 8 something in the summertime during practice?
Yeah, I fished that tournament. It was actually there was one almost 8 in a tournament. Paul Mueller caught it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was in 2020, I think.
Yeah,
2020 or 2021. So, but yeah, it was like a hair off of 8. It was insane.
Yeah, so you got to figure like that, like fall weight. If it's a good fall, that fish is going to be somewhere around 9 and change anyways. You got to figure they put on about a pound and a half to 2 pounds of fat. So
yep, they look a lot different in the summer than they do in the fall. That's for sure.
They really do. Yeah. Yeah.
Or the springtime for that matter. I mean, it's pretty much the same as the fall.
Yeah. Like I've seen like big, smaller fish that weigh big, but that they don't have the potential to be an 8 or 9 pounder. But I've caught some fish that just have that real big mouth and they have that crown on their head. They're very different. Yeah, it really is very different from everything else. They have that potential. And I don't know what it is about that crown, but every big fish I've ever caught has that bump on his head.
Oh, dude, that's the best though. If you catch one like that has that on it,
it looks so different. Yeah, it's so cool. Man, like when they get that like different look to them, you're like, this is a big fish for sure. This thing is just like crazy looking.
100%. Yeah, like I caught one couple falls ago that was 715, and it looked pretty young. Like no blemish, no marks, nothing on it. It looked like young. Like maybe I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but maybe it was like 10 years old. Yeah. It was just clean and beautiful and just never had a mark in its mouth, like nothing. Looked like it had never been caught. Man. And the funny thing, that spot that I have, so that there's other things around it that look really good. Maybe a couple things on it that look even better. But I have a 50-yard stretch that now I've caught 6 over 7 in the fall off it. And 1 and 2 was 715. Both my 715s came off. I don't know what it is about this spot, and I've caught some real big walleye on it too. They'll come as soon as that sun goes down a bit. Man, some giant walleye come in, and it's so fun watching them on live because, with a smallmouth, it'll set up on something and wait. Walleye are swimming, so you're constantly targeting them. You're watching them swim away. You kind of throw it in front of them, and they charge that thing so hard.
Yep.
When they hit it, like a smallmouth will come up to it and just grab it, and it'll just be wait. A walleye comes up and it just be like, punk, like pop it hard. That's got to be a walleye, and sure enough, it is. But yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
That's cool,
but yeah,
man.
it's something about that spot that is bringing in some big fish. Last year, I mean, it's kind of a you need the right weather because it gets rough out there so easy trying to get out there and fish it. But there's something about it. I still feel like there'll be a big one I'm going to get off there, like a real big one. It's going to happen. So,
well, you've already got 2 pretty dang big ones off of that spot. 715s. That's insane. That's really good.
Yeah, I had a day out with a customer there. It's the first time I doubled up in one day on that spot. I put the screen. I'm like, oh yeah, there's 2 big ones off to the left. I'm like, you cast out there, let it sink, reel it back. So he kind of knows this thing. He's been with me a while. So he's swimming it, and I'm like, I'll just cast off to the side. So he's casting, at 10 o'clock. I cast over at 2, let it sink, start to retreat, bonk, set the hook, 757. So I feel terrible that I stole this big fish off. Didn't do it on purpose. I was thrown away from them. So I'm like, I'm looking, I'm like, there's still, 1 or 2 real good ones. Just keep throwing out there. So I get this fish now. I have to fizz it, and I put it in the live well for a sec because it was early fall. It kind of blew up. So I fizzed it, put it in the live well. So I'm going to leave it for 10 minutes and we'll let it go. So he keeps casting. He's like, oh, I got one. And it comes out of the water. I'm like, dude, it's a giant. And it's a 7.17, like 15, not even 15 minutes apart. And I think it was a year or 2 later, I was on that same spot by myself, and I caught I think it was a 767 and a 730 something on consecutive casts back to back.
Yeah, so like 15 pounds and 2 fish, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, man. So when does your like Ontario season kick off? When's like usually the first like week you're out?
So like, usually sometime in April, I go out and start looking. So we have that catch and release season, catch and release on the Canadian side. So I'll start looking a little bit, and, I'm always trying to, when I first started fishing it, nobody was out there. Like I had the entire lake to myself, never see a boat. And if you heard a boat, it was never a bass boat. It's like, either patrol or, just, OPP doing some stuff, the police going out there, doing some things out there. It was never anybody, but over the years, there's been a lot of boats coming in now. There's no question it's going to change it, but the springtime is a great time to get a big one. Like 4 out of the 6 biggest 5 fish limits I've ever caught have come in the spring. I had a 35.69 last year on 5 fish. I 35.58 or 35.53. I have to go back somewhere in there. Both times there was an 8 caught in that best 5. But the guys that were with me last year, they caught an 8.24, and it was the last fish of the day, and they lost a 7-pounder and still weighed almost 36 pounds. They'd have been over 36. Their small fish was 6.69. That was the small one.
That's a great day.
Yeah. So it starts then, and I go pretty hard, and then then I usually take some time off. I'll go out a few times in June, and I'll just graph, no rods, just engine down and just looking around some new areas that I haven't fished, just to kind of get some. You always got to be the best. The tournament, the young guys. The reason, the live scopes definitely help some of them, and they probably understand it more than the older guys, most of them. But they put so much time on the water, and they do it right. They'll graph for days and not make a cast. So there's something to be said. It takes a lot of discipline to do that, and not everybody has it in them to do it. So that's what it takes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be married with kids and only get out a couple times a year to do that. So you gotta have some time on your hands.
No, you can, and I think that's the hardest part about fishing. Like, you hear anglers talk about it all the time on in the tournament, saying, I'm not young anymore. I got a wife. I got kids. The unfortunate thing is you're going up against guys that could do whatever they want, and they have the money, and they just go fish all day. So how do you compete against that? They're good. They know what they're doing on live scope. A lot of these guys, and they've proven it, they can do it anyway. Without live scope, they'll still go out and catch it. We got one of the young guys on our team, Jacob Walker. He does the MLF Pro Circuit. Mm-hmm. He's probably, I'd say he might be the best angler I've ever been on a boat with. I mean, that guy, his knowledge and his athleticism when it comes to just target fishing, no matter what angle or where he's throwing at, he hits his target like 99% of the time. I sat there and watched him, and he's so good. Like, he'll be like, oh yeah, oh no, those fish won't eat a minnow. I need a jerkbait. And he'll put the minnow down, throw the jerkbait out, don't catch it. Oh no, those things don't want this. They want this instead. So I'm just looking at him like, how do you know? And then he just starts blurting out all this stuff. And I'm like, man, that's pretty good. That's pretty damn good.
That's cool.
Insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Nick, do you have anything else, Destin, that you wanted to ask before we wrap this thing up?
I would say, so Josh, you gave me a good question last time we were on. So Nick, what's 5 baits that you would have to have all season? If you could pick only 5, what are the 5 baits you would pick?
It would be a Hasdong shad, 4.2.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a dark sleeper in a 2.4 or 3, doesn't matter.
Okay.
It would be a 110 plus 1 jerkbait. It would be some kind of dice bait.
Yeah, those are getting hot, man.
Man, they are beyond hot. I'll tell you guys a quick story. And it'll be, probably some kind of minnow bait, like sling shad or sakamata, something like that.
Okay. What do we have? About 3 out of 5 same, Josh? I think I had the jerk bait. I had the jig minnow. I think one of the other ones. Yeah. So,
maybe a finesse jig too might, maybe I would have substituted one of those. I don't know. Yeah, but that's pretty much the deal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So I got one last question, because you travel a lot. Do you fish any of the other Great Lakes like a decent amount?
Yeah. So I know my knowledge on Erie's pretty good, although I haven't been on it in a very long time. And Erie fishes. Here's the neat thing about the Great Lakes. They all kind of fish differently, so I've put a lot of time on Erie, completely different than Lake Ontario. You're fishing seams and bottom transitions more than you are, you're not going to find ledges and drop, steep. Yes, the Canadian side's got a bunch of shoals that, will have some steep lines and stuff like that. But generally, the real big ones are going to be on bottom transitions. That's key. And they are much deeper than they are in Lake Ontario. St. Clair is another really good one. Numbers of fish. Now that you won't get, it's not easy catching a 7-pounder. There are 7-pounders out there, but I think a lot of the 7-pound fish that someone would catch on St. Clair, they're coming out of Lake Huron or Lake Erie. They don't live in St. Clair. I think those fish in Lake St. Clair, they're skinny because they got to chase. There's no gobies in there. They got to chase bait. Yeah, they're perch, and then they got to chase. They got to run away from muskie all their lives.
Right.
So they're skinny, and doesn't matter. I remember the first time I fished a tournament there in the fall, late in the summer, and I'm like, oh, beautiful. Finally, we're going to see some big fat fish. No, they're all skinny. Yeah. Unless you go to Anchor Bay and you get those groups coming in from Huron, they're all skinny fish, always.
Yeah. They're built much differently. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, Lake Michigan and, Green Bay, all that stuff, like unbelievable fishery, from one side.
What I want to have somebody on from Lake Michigan next. I feel like we need to find somebody who's just like a hammer on Michigan, because I know enough about it to know it's kind of they don't have near as much like many big tournaments like they do on Ontario. So I think it might be, kind of a little bit more like in the dark, with that.
I think it is. Yeah. I think there's some real big fish out there. What I was thinking to do when I go down to the Classic this week, I'm going to try and convince one of the directors that maybe they should start looking up in Michigan. There's some real good fishing up there.
There is. Yeah.
Take a break from Lake Ontario and go hit those lakes up there.
Destin, do you know Kobe Pellerito?
Of course I do. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Kobe on a while back. Maybe we'll have him on for this one. He's a great
angler,
Michigan guy. So
yeah.
That's cool. Well, Nick, thanks for coming on, man. That was a pleasure. I've been looking forward to having you on. I'll see you here in a few days. I'll definitely make sure to come by and say what's up and buy some of those special edition ones.
I'll be at McKee's or Thorne Brothers. Stop in and say hi.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said at Columbus, I want to come up and fish with you. Get one of those 8-pounders.
You let me know anytime.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, we sign off every podcast by saying free the fighter. So give me a free the fighter, Nick.
Sorry, say that again.
We say free the fighter to sign off every podcast. So you got to say it to end the podcast.
Boys and girls, free the fighter.
Love it, dude. Love it.
Yeah, man.
See you guys.
Let them swim again.
Heck yeah.
Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Take care.